Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Stranded Alien Dawn. In this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about farming and what things are important, and the size of your farms, and why building too large is not necessary. Alright, so first off, the place that I'm on, the seed is Laura with a lowercase l. That's it. It is one of the most fertile, best places I have landed. I've tried many others. So if you're looking for good farming and a very large space for farming, this is perfect. I have everything here: melons, corn, berries, silicone, skin bark, both types of mushrooms. It's got cotton. It's got pretty much everything close. The cotton is a little further away. So when you do start, you will have to come up here to observe the cotton up here, which is not that bad as far as where everything else is. I have two different kinds of mushrooms here. I have the glitter caps and I have the tube mushrooms. These ones will give you your syrups. Um, so there are a lot of melons around. They are very good for your start cooking. You don't need many of them because you can only cook so many foods. You don't have a lot of survivors at the beginning, so an overabundant amount of food is not necessary. A lot of it will go to waste, especially in the spring and summer months. You do need to make sure that you have a supply of things for the winter, because that is what is important, because you cannot harvest and you cannot plant during the winter months till spring. So make sure you have at least a good supply. Now you can look at your farms and you can see here your harvestable yield. So the better the planting area, so as you can see, if I plant corn here, it's going to tell me that I have 100% growth. This is very beneficial when you build farms. So this whole area up here where I have built is a 100% growth rate. So I will get really good yields for a lower sized farm. So therefore I don't need to build too many big large squares. I will get fairly decent yields. 690 of the glitter cap is very good. The ones you need to pick right off the hop are your corn. Corn is very big for your food. It's good for your fermentation of beverages. It's good for your gasoline. So your corn can be used for the oil extraction. So if you have not found gasoline from one of these salvaged down crafts, you will need to research the oil extraction, and for that you are going to require grain. And for every 10, you are going to require 20 of them. You will go through grain pretty decently, so make sure you have enough if you are going to make a lot of gasoline. Your next thing would be to to research the fuel mixing. Grain is also used in your antibiotics, which are very important for your winter months, especially if you have not been able to craft good clothing for the winter yet, because the antibiotics will help them when they get pneumonia or they get colds. So you got to make sure you have a decent amount of antibiotics. So do research that. But that's explaining, what the importance of the grain is. This is going to yield me 600 grain. It comes every 12 days, so I can get a few crops out before the winter comes from my spring planting. You do want to plant these as soon as possible. I cannot stress that enough. It takes time. So if you want to have an abundant amount before the end of fall into your winter, you're going to need a few crops of these. My other one here is cotton, which is also very important. It will help you to craft your clothing until you can get your hands on either leathers from animals or skin bark. Skin bark is not very handy. It is required to build the balloon. You will either need a dried leather or you will need the skin bark. The problem with the skin bark is it takes up a massive amount of space for a very low yield, so it's not really worth it. There is enough skin bark around this area where I have shown to harvest that and then just convert that. You won't need much more. Building your leathers are okay. They do protect you somewhat in a battle, but as I will show you in later videos, when I show you the defense and the building of your base, you should be well enough protected that your people should not suffer injuries or require the armor until you can find other things like carbon armor, which I will get into in another video. So for right now, we're focusing on the farms and why these things are so important to get up immediately. Our next one here is glitter caps, extremely important. They serve a multi-tiered purpose. One is they are used in food, so you can swap it off for things like melons, which will require freezers or fridges. They won't last on shelves in the summer and spring months, so you will lose some if you're not cooking enough of them, so you don't want to have an overabundant amount. They take up a fairly large area. They do have a good yield, the melons, but you will find yourself being overburdened by melons and they will need a place to go. The thing with the glitter cap mushrooms is because they're just mushrooms, as long as they're on a shelf under a roof, it doesn't matter what season they are in, they will not rot. So that is very handy as far as keeping yourself supplied with food for all the different seasons. They also don't require freezers, so when you are using your freezers eventually for a lot of your grain, which you will require a lot of at some point, you're not going to be using the freezers for your glitter caps. The other good things that they are used for, as you can see, are these shroom torches. And these serve a multi-purpose as well. One, this provides light for your survivors to have because they do not like working in dark. So instead of making wood torches or metal torches, which require a lot of handling, so it's wasting your survivors' time running back and forth, it's also requiring sticks. So having the glitter cap mushrooms, you have a 12-day refuel. So 12 days is quite a long time. That's an entire yield of one of your crops before they need to be replaced. And they only required, I believe, 10 to replace them anyway, and a couple sticks. They light up pretty good. The other good thing about the shroom torches is that until you get up activities for your people, like the punching post or the shooting place, whatever, or chairs or other things, this will give them bonuses for their happiness. So they will go and observe the shroom torches and they will get happy from it. So it will really help at night when you have them relax, and they will just go to them automatically. The other good thing the shrooms are for healing bombs. So you can craft the healing bombs from one of your craft tables, and then what will end up happening is that if people are injured, then you can put a healing bomb on them. So this will help to cure them from whatever they've got. I've yet to really use the healing bombs, again, because my survivors don't take a lot of damage in my games, so I don't really use them. I make maybe about 10 of them. But again, these are very big in a lot of different meals that you will cook, so you will want quite a lot of these. They will not go bad, so this is why you want them over something like a melon or berries, because they will require cool storage, and if you do not have it, then you will just waste all of your food. Our next biggest thing to plant immediately, because they take a bit of time and they have a very low yield, is the silicone fields. Silicone is used in your crafting of electronics. So If you cannot find enough electronics from the salvaging of the parts around you, then you are going to need to craft them. They are very big because they're used in a lot of stuff like your solar panels and your turbines. They're used to replace malfunctioning stuff in your fridges and freezers. So you will be going through a lot of them. So having a good amount of silicone until you can find enough. Sometimes you can salvage it from the crafts that have landed, or sometimes you can go on exploration missions and you may come back with silicone. But the biggest place you're gonna actually get it from is going to be here. And if you are not finding electronics, then you are going to need to craft it. So having a healthy amount of silicone is really the best thing you can do. The other thing I'm going to stress that I have noticed in a lot of videos is the size of the farms that people make and where they place them. As you can see, my farm is a decent size. It shouldn't need to expand further than this for quite a while. It is literally right next to my where I craft, where I sleep. The reason for this is because the more stuff you have, the longer it takes for them to harvest and to plant them. So therefore, you don't want them to travel very long distances to get to your fields and to plow them, and then to be the end of the day, and they've just left half your field in a state of disarray. So you want to be close as possible. You want to be able to defend it as close as possible. As you see, I have a fence around. You need one of these up immediately, because what will happen is animals will wander in and they will want to eat all your food. If you start shooting at them or causing problems, they'll just trample it. If you have a pulse rifle, you can destroy your actual crops, so keep that in mind. So having a good fence up immediately is beneficial to keep them out, even for a second, to allow your people to attack the animals. It's going to save your crops, and you need as many as you can get. Now, when I build a base, my base will be, when I build my house and my base, it will be inside next to my fields. Therefore, when they come out of their home, they only have to walk out the door to go do their planting and harvesting. It will make the treks and the time in between very fast, so you will get more done in every day, which, these days are very short. Now, as far as planting, you need to observe the things that you want to plant. You cannot plant until you spend the time observing. So if I want to plant this bush, I would need to observe it first. Do not cut. If you have a choice on an object to harvest or cut, cutting will kill it and it will never grow again. Do keep in mind that certain things like the silicone and the skin bark, even though I have just harvested, not cut it, it does not seem to grow back. If I go to my berry bushes, which I have not observed yet, and I had an option to harvest this or cut this, if I harvest the berry bushes, I will save the bush and they will regrow again. And this is also another thing I do not have to plant to take care of. This is a food source at some point in time, depending on how you want to play, and animals will not attack this. There is also another trick which I don't use because it's kind of cheating the game, which is to plant your fields and then remove the field. So I can go to my field and I can remove field. It will continue to keep growing, and I will have to manually have them harvest it, and then I would have to make a new field again to replant it. And then that's a way to get around the animals attacking. So if you are having problems with animals and you cannot defend it properly enough, and it's becoming an issue, this is an option. It's not one that I use, but it is one that's available. Now, as far as fields are concerned, if ever at one point in time when I lay down a field, and let's say my field has now, this is too big, okay, I can go into here and I can reduce my field. So I can click the reduce. I can pick an amount of squares that I want to cut. and then just left click and it's gone. And let's say, well, I did the opposite. I made a field and it's too short. I can use the extend field and do the same exact thing, except for this is going to now extend my field. So this is how you can, in your farming, rearrange things. You can remove parts when it becomes unnecessary to have that amount of supplies any longer, and you can remove those fields or extend other ones, so therefore you don't actually have to keep building massive fields all over the place. You can also change crops. So if, say, I like the size of this grain field, but I don't for some reason need grain anymore, I can go into the change crop. But do keep in mind that the time you do these is very important. It's best to do this when the harvest season starts at the end of winter into spring, because you are again going to start from scratch, and it's going to take you 12 days to cultivate these butter melons. So the only other things you can do, if say I have too much grain and I want to put a slow to it, I can turn off the plant. They will harvest this, but they will not plant after. So the field, once it's done harvesting, will become empty, but the plot still exists with the grain cob for whenever I want to have them plant again. So your planting is very important in this game. It's all of the stuff you're going to need, whether it's for your clothing, whether it's for your gasoline or your oils for cooking, whether it's for your light, whether it's for your electronics that you are going to require a fair amount of, and you will chew through them eventually once you start getting into electronics. So do keep in mind, I've seen a lot of videos where some people's farms were literally this big. Unnecessary. And not only did they have a farm that big, their base was over here. So try to keep your farms very close. When you do build your base, you build your base right next to your farms, and you encompass everything into one place. I will show this in another video on base building, why I build the bases that I do. So please look forward to seeing those at some point in time. But yeah, I hope this has helped you a lot with the farming to better understand which ones to start with, and hopefully you can get a handle on the sizes. These do need to change and alter, as I said, so do keep an eye on how many resources you are storing, and do not have an overabundant amount of things you do not require anymore. And the understanding of that I can change fields, I can change sizes of fields. This is very beneficial in not having to expand your original farm too much outside of what you can handle. So I do hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe if you can, and do look forward to making more videos for you. Thank you.